Alright. There we go. We should be live now. Hi. I randomly decided to take the chance because he'll just be gone for a while. So, yeah. I'm just gonna stream for a bit. I plan to stream Slave a Princess, but the moment I saw that I still had my OTAs open, I wanted to work on it. So, yeah, we're doing that now. I already did 3 of them. I might as well show you. I, as per usual, offered for a friend of mine because you just all know that I love obtaining characters. And the one thing that I'll never escape is making OTAs happen for those. This one is basically already finished, but I just wanted to slightly sharpen up the line art because I hate when the line art is like round and stuff. When, for example, a character is very angular like this one. Yeah. Let me just quickly fix that little edge that I didn't like. Oh my god. I hate when I do this. But at the same time, I just like sharp lines. So yeah. There we go. This one was basically already finished, but I still wanted to add a little bit more onto it with like fixing the lines quickly. Which, you know, are not gonna look the best, but I'll probably fix it again later. But yeah. I so far have done Crowley and Misty, which are characters that belong to my friend Hollowed Heartlock, so just keep in mind, these are not mine. So yeah, I finished the Funny Scarecrow Man. I finished Mystery, which I just abbreviate to Misty. Yeah, I actually quite like this one. I like the way I've done the hair here. Yeah, and that was Connie. I essentially maybe need to reshade some things, but I'm not sure exactly. I don't want to sit too long on this one. If anything, I'll come back to it with fresh eyes. Yeah. We're just gonna do Flake next. Yeah. As I mentioned, these all belong to the same person, Hollowed Heartlock. So yeah, keep that in mind. Also, I felt a little bit nostalgic, so I decided to just tune on Star Boutique music because why not? I've been a big Star Boutique kid since I was a kid. I can maybe talk about this. I'm not sure if I've ever told it when I was streaming, but in case I didn't, I now have a chance to. Currently, it's very fitting that there's Star Boutique OST of the DS era, which means it's style savvy from the DS, which is the closet selection. I actually even know where specifically this OST comes from. So yeah, giant nostalgia bait for me, but I digress. To also keep in mind, obviously, I kept the channel name here that made this playlist that I'm using. They're called Rock Angels with free Z, or like Z, and Polo Heart Unicode, and Lisa in exclamation marks. So yeah, just keep that also in mind that I didn't create this playlist. I forgot where I was going. Right. So back in middle school and like basically transitioning from elementary to middle school, I could actually like specify. There was this time in my life where I was extremely forgetful. If there's one thing I can't keep a secret about myself, it's that I lose things very easily. With no joke, I used to lose a lot of things. Like almost every week, some item went missing. That most likely has to do with undiagnosed ADHD, maybe, but I don't know. I just somehow lost my items all of the time. It was pretty awkward because every single time I'd come home, there would be just something missing. And then I'd only realize once I'm home, or when I'm in the middle of like school recess breaks, I would just realize that something is missing. It happened most often with me losing like entire pairs of shoes. Losing beanies and hats, and like losing earrings and rings the most. I lost so many earrings in my life. I to this day still have like earrings where I only have one pair left. So yeah. It's just a little bit more about me, I guess. That happens quite a lot. Yeah. So why do I mention this? I mention this because I used to own a Nintendo 3DS. The keyword is used to. Because what happens is that, essentially, when I moved to a different part of my town, all of a sudden, not only did I lose all my friends, but I sort of just lost my sense of orientation, as weird as it sounds. Like, I just couldn't remember streets anymore, I didn't know where I was going, I like, a lot of the time got lost, and I had to ask strangers for directions, because I just simply was, like I said, so lost. I don't know where it came from that I just started having dementia in relation to just losing where I'm going. But yeah. Why is that, again, important to mention? Well, I had to drive with a bus now. In order to get to school properly, I would go on a bus, and I would ride to town with it. Because, I went to a completely different region in my town. It meant that, essentially, I couldn't find myself. Sorry if I keep losing track today, I've had so many things on my mind. So it's been a little bit difficult keeping track of what I'm talking about and what I'm thinking about. But yeah. Sorry, I need to get to the point. This is why I don't stream that much, because it's problems like these that arise that will irritate people who are, like, neurotypical. But yeah. To continue, again, I would ride with a bus, and of course, I would take my 3DS with me. Not as a flex for anything, I just wanted to play games while I was bored in the bus. And one of those games was Style Boutique. I would play an unhealthy amount of Style Boutique. Too much Style Boutique. That's probably where my sense of fashion came from, with tube tops and like mini skirts and etc, etc. It's most likely that game that developed it, and the way I design clothes nowadays, but I digress, again. There was this moment, just someday, where I was on the bus. I got off the bus, because, you know, like, eventually, I arrived at my stop, and once I was at my stop, I quickly checked my pockets. I quickly checked my backpack. I realized my DS isn't there anymore, and I panic. I had a jacket on that I would easily lose my 3DS in, and I just kind of didn't realize that is a red flag to not take items with me that cost a lot for something like my family's budget at the time. So, yeah. I lost my DS, like my 3DS. I still have my DSi. But, yeah, what I lost along with that 3DS is my copy of Style Boutique. It's very embarrassing because not only did I have to report to my mom, who at the time, you know, wasn't exactly a good mother, let's just say it like it is. Like, I'm not gonna hide that fact that my parents weren't exactly the best to me when I was younger. But yeah. Not only did I have to, like, tell to my mom in shame, and she said, we're not buying you things anymore due to that. I was, like, it's so embarrassing to recall, but I find it so funny. Oh, I accidentally opened a program. Let me just quickly close that. Happens way too much. But, yeah. Essentially, you know, she like, handed me our phone, and she went, call the bus office right now. Tell them you lost your device. And I just thought, I'm never gonna get that back, won't I? Some kid is just gonna pick it up, be happy with the find they got, and just never return it to me. And that's exactly what happened. The 3DS was never found. What's crazy about this part is that, you know, when I went to the office in person, because, like, they were closed when I called, and then when I went over to them, and I was, like, disoriented again, and I couldn't find the office because it has a really weird structure. I to this day, still get lost when I have to, like, sometimes walk to his office. No joke. There were cases where I lost. It still is going, by the way. I still lose things. But yeah. I essentially lost my bus card when I was in college, too. Like, twice. Because one time, like, the chain I used for it to, like, you know, stick to the lanyard I used just came loose and broke apart. So I had to go to the office again. And, you know, the other time, yet again, I lost the card that was in my wallet that time. So, yeah, I just lost a card that was in my wallet, whilst my lanyard was broken. So, yeah. It wasn't the first. It was the first time at the time, but it wasn't the last time I visited that office. So yeah, you know, I like asked the lady, "Have you seen my 3DS? It's turquoise, and it has a touch pen still, and it has Style Boutique in a cartridge." And the lady, she just like goes, 3D? No, 3DS. And that poor woman was so confused with what I was talking about. She most likely never heard of a 3DS before. So just like this 11-year-old who's pretty clueless, like talking to her about some random console she's never heard of in her life was already like sad enough, isn't it? But what's even stranger is that this lady was so old that she wrote in Old German. I kid you not, she was writing in Old German. Like, I don't know if people know about this, but Germans used to have an Old German alphabet where they would write letters completely different. I'm not sure if I can, like, maybe find an image. Let me actually go take a look if I can maybe find one. Because I have, like, a million tabs open, as you know me. Let's see here. Altdeutsches Alphabet. Let's see if I can find a picture that, like, displays the Old German alphabet. Let's see here. Let's see here. I don't think that was the Old German one. Another teacher of mine actually showed us also the Old German alphabet, because he just also apparently could do it. Just to flex on us. That was my 9th grade teacher, though. Not my, like, 6th grade teacher or anything. Let's see here. Oh, yeah, there it is. That's the old one. That's the old one. Oh my god. Gotta show you this. Yeah. It's on Adobe stock. Let me just pull that over to a window right next to it. Come on. Get out of here. Loser. There we go. Let me just make it tiny enough so that the stream can pick it up. Yeah, it was this thing. It looks a bit archaic, doesn't it? Let me just scooch it closer. It's so hard to align things when I'm trying to, like, have multiple windows open at once. I have to, like, very closely observe my OBS, but yeah, there you go. Now you should see the window in full. This says Deutsche Schrift. And that's, like, the alphabet that you can see here. That, like, basically this lady used. Which was so hard to read. It was so damn hard to read. And then she, like, wrote down my name in Old German as well, because she asked, like, what's my name? And, dear god, she wrote it in SCH, which is, like, basically SCH, which is, you know, the German way of spelling SH for us, but, yeah. This is by EKH Pictures, god, words in English, but, yeah. So that was an experience that I experienced as a kid. Let me also change this to just live chat instead of top chat. I hate that that's the automatic thing it sets itself into. I know people don't come here to chat. I know they come here to observe. But, you know, still, just in case somebody has questions. But, yeah. That was basically my experience with when I lost my 3DS. I never got my beloved Style Boutique cartridge again. I never got my 3DS back ever again. And my parents refused to buy me things after I lost it because, like I said, it was out of my family's budget. Like, for us in Germany, a 3DS was 300 bucks, like in euro. I think in dollars it'd be something like $320. You have like a 30 bucks difference when you like convert it to US currency, approximately. It fluctuates and changes obviously, but that's somewhere around the price. So yeah, it was a bit more pricey in dollars. So you can imagine that my mother had every justified reason to freak out at me for losing such an expensive console. To us, that was extremely expensive. I to this day think that DSs are expensive for like their processing power and everything that they're capable of. They're not exactly the strongest devices. It doesn't mean that I hate them. I love Nintendo DSs, but I do think they were a bit overpriced. Just a tiny bit for what their games could muster. Not to like bash some game developers that didn't use the DS to its full extent, but yeah. I guess maybe I should stop rambling about DSs so much. Like, I'm literally basically an art YouTuber, and here I am talking about video games instead. Well, to be fair, I can't put myself exactly in a genre. I'm kind of like my own thing. I never am doing this for monetary gain or like to like have an active following or anything. I just draw out of fun, so yeah. Kind of counterintuitive to tell myself that I'm something I'm not, basically. Speaking about YouTuber stuff though, I do plan on releasing a video soon. I still have to edit a few things here and there, but yeah. I'm gonna be making like a good old-fashioned beware post in video form, because there's a person on DeviantArt that was pretty saucy. Nintendo DS mentioned. I have been summoned. Hello, Magic! I'm surprised that someone actually watches me. I'm not sure how long the delay is, but welcome, I guess. But yeah, DS has been a big part of my childhood. I wondered, was it part of your childhood? I'm just curious. If you don't want to answer though, you don't have to. But it's pretty cool that someone actually checked my stream out. Thank you so much. It's a bit of a rarity to see someone in chat, so that's pretty cool. I'm just gonna hope that the delay isn't too hard on me though. I need to be very patient before I move on to new topics. It could be that the stream is delayed by like a minute or 3 though. That's the problem. The internet isn't the best in my home. But yeah, just in case you'll stick around, hi, hello, feel free to pick up on a conversation. Whew. I actually switched colors, oops. Well, dealing with blue now. Now I just kind of lost track of myself. My bad. I was so excited over a new person. Hell yeah, I actually got a 3DS the other day to mod it, but so far been unsuccessful. Oh, don't give up! There's plenty of video tutorials, and what you should maybe know is that, you know, in April, Nintendo is shutting down internet services. So right now, the prime time to mod. So yeah, good on you. I just say, continue being patient, and it'll work out. I've heard that people use homebrew a lot with it. I can't say much on it because I've never hacked my DS's before. I've just kept them as they are, but I should probably hack mine too. I'm gonna have to admit that. It's just a problem of I want to continue to have online play because I have Mario Kart on my DS, which is kind of dumb. That they're like disabling internet services just because not many people play them anymore. Like, imagine doing that. If I'm not mistaken, Xboxes and PlayStations to this day still have their online services. But yeah, might as well ask anyway. What are you modding your DS for? As far as I know, primarily it's for people to upgrade graphics and to dump, I think is the term, video games. Yeah. There we go. Let me just stare at my own crap again. Nostalgia mostly. Ah. Yeah, I getcha. There's many good games that came from that era anyway. I to this day still play Sonic Rush. I just played it this weekend when I was in school again on around afternoon. I just think a lot of good games have been left in the past, admittedly. I wish they would get a remake. I'm so glad though that, for example, Majora's Mask was remade for 3DS. I think it's honestly a perfect medium, like the Zelda series for something like a DS. But I'm sad in general that DSs are getting discontinued, also in general, because like, why? It was a perfectly fine device for like quick travels or anything. Like, they sold well as well. Like, the DS sold catastrophically high amounts of like units. So just because the 3DS got a bit less, just like the Wii U, I don't think it's a reason to completely discontinue a series. But at the same time, you can at least say that Switches are just basically Wii U's, but better. Well, not exactly. According to other tech YouTubers I watched, they also said, like, it's not the best. The hardware is outdated, I heard. But yeah, same for DS's though. Like, just upgrade the hardware. Make us a new DS. Make us a superior version that fits in pockets, that you can take anywhere. Like, the concept is amazing of a Nintendo DS. But why didn't you just execute it properly? If you would have done that, then there wouldn't be a problem. But at the same time, I feel like somewhere deep down in me, I think it's due to the amount of DRM cases there have been with just how easy DSs are to hack. But I'd rather blame Nintendo for that, because, like, it's your fault for not properly protecting your stuff. I can't say that at the same time, though, when Wii's have been hacked with tweezers. I also kind of am hypocritical for saying that. Don't mind me opening my own crap, because I forgot what my art style is again. The hell did I do in this hair again? I just realized I'm a dumbass. I can just look at the ones I made prior. Only I have this amount of lack of brain cells. Oh my god. Yeah, staring at Connie, I did indeed use a hairbrush for it. So, let me do that. Man, it's so refreshing to have someone in chat, though. That's pretty cool. Glad that things are working out, at least on my end, with, like, being able to talk to people. I mean, I don't mind talking to myself either. Not at all. But I appreciate when people do want to talk. It always makes my day a bit more brighter. I hope that looks right. Whenever I use this brush, I'm uncertain how it'll look from afar, because I always have to zoom in to make sure that all the strands are staying in their sections. That looks awful. This is why I do my hair strands nowadays completely by myself instead of using this brush too. Just on the topic of art, that these brushes aren't the best. Sai has a great brush engine, but I just don't think that the hair brushes are like the best. I think there's other programs that do it better. I think that Medibang does hair brushes a bit better, in my opinion, but the premium one specifically. The default hairbrush that I use is not exactly great. There was a moment in my life where I used Medibang way more. It was basically when I was like 12 or 13 at the time. And I basically still had like a pirated version of Sai instead of like the official one like I own now. Yeah, I guess I could update on that. I own the official version of Sai now. After like 6, I think, years. Like, I started drawing in Sai when I was 11. Like, this art program is, like, basically my home. Yeah. Let me quickly pull out a calculator because I suck at math. How long was that ago? There we go. That's the wrong calculator. Give me the standard one. There we go. So, like, I was... Wait, actually, I already started when I was 10. I don't use those whenever I draw hair because I'm also used to drawing black hair, like curls and straight cartoon hair. Ah! Fair. Yeah. I'm just a person who adds a lot of texture and razzle-dazzle. I just like being a bit extra. Let's see here. Oh god. I just subtracted 2024 from 2017. That's 7 years. I've been using the same art program for 8 years now, basically, because, before I started posting social medias and creating accounts on the internet, I already was drawing Plants vs. Zombies and My Little Pony when I was 10. So, yeah. But same. I do like drawing curly characters. I think I own like 2 that have like more, I guess, extreme curls. Basically it's Chloe and Clementine. I like drawing Clementine a lot. Clemmy is one of my prettiest girls for me. But, yeah. I kind of forgot where I was at again. I'm so sorry. I lose track so easily. But yeah, just to mention again, it's absolutely fair if you don't texture hair or you don't use brushes like these, because as you can tell, the results aren't exactly, like, super amazing or impressive. But they do get the job done. I think these brushes are better for beginners who don't really know how to texture hair exactly. I've been able to do that without hairbrushes, but at the same time, they're pretty good time saver when you don't want to draw all the strands separately, one by one. I, to this day, still use the same techniques for hair. Like I have years ago, when like I've posted, I think, my second speed paint on this channel. I don't even remember. It was basically that drawing with Marco and the butterfly wings that I forgot to upload for years to my toy house. I'm quite forgetful to this day. I forget to post so much art that I make. I make too much art, man. And there's pros and cons toward being an art addict. There's, of course, the pro of not having issues when you have, like, burnout, because you just continue to draw anyway. But, there's, of course, the disadvantage of you just need to draw, or else you just won't feel okay for a while. Or at least that's how I experience it. I do wonder, though, how long the majority of the time art takes, because for me it fluctuates so much. There's days where I spend days on a sketch, and there's days where I'm pretty quickly done with something. Like, for example, these 3 chibi heads that I've done so far, like, all these 3, they were done, like, in around an hour or 2, so they were done pretty fast for when I worked on them, but right now I think I spent, like, 30 minutes on this dude. And I probably won't be done until, like, in an hour as well. Yet again, I gotta remember what the hell's going on here. I wish that I wouldn't forget my art style so often. But I think that's actually all already. By the by, sorry in case you hear any noises that are, like, outside of my control. Like, for example, my chair squeaks whenever I move. My new microphone is great. It like has really clean audio. I don't have to do any post-processing or anything to this thing, which saves me a lot of time whenever I do need to like edit something. But at the same time, it picks up on everything. So yeah, I just have to pray that my neighbors won't actually be a nuisance today. I'm not saying this out of, like, pettiness or spite. They're just genuinely louder than me somehow. Like, I always feel bad whenever I'm super noisy, and whenever something falls down. It happens a lot at 3 AM, because I... because I always have some form of object in my bed. Be it, obviously, my consoles, or, like, sometimes I just forget to put away my paints, and they just lay on my bed in my backpack that is full of paints. And when that thing falls down, it's so noisy, and I always feel so bad. But genuinely, my neighbors downstairs, they could give less of a damn about their child screaming its lungs out. The amount of strength in the child's voice downstairs really scares me sometimes. It's quite scary. Because, like, I never expect children to be so loud. But then they basically raise their voice once, and it feels like Satan himself has been summoned. I'm not saying that to be, like, mean in any way, but just... I'm just terrified of children. Children are spooky. They're scary. I don't like them. But yeah, that's yet again probably just struggles I go through. But nobody else. It's most likely something, again, related to the autism in my brain. Being silly, being funny, very hard struggle in life. Oh well. God, I'm so nostalgic for the soundtrack going on here. I do wonder though why they like changed the name from like Sin Sophia or like Sun Sophia, like SYN, like oh my god, SYN. It's like after middle school I just developed a fear of toddlers. Oh man, you tell me. I can actually recall a funny memory. If anything, there was a time where I got beaten up by a toddler with my own tennis racket. With no joke. I had like neighbors' kids, and they basically like had a sister that was like younger than the child I was visiting in her home, and she was like, "Yeah, that's my sister," and I was like, "Oh, hi," And she immediately grabbed the racket and just started beating me with no joke. And every single time she hit me, like, that toddler just laughed every single time when I was in pain. I was like pleading to the toddler to stop, but it still beat me up. That was pretty sad. Because like, I obviously couldn't like do something against somehow accidentally touching the damn toddler and somehow breaking it. I had to just take it in. It's again, like such an embarrassing and very stupid and funny memory. I think that might be the reason why I'm afraid of children. Kids are brutal. Like, I don't know if I should be shocked, scared, or impressed. How about all of three? How about all of three? You can be impressed that the toddler knew how to beat me up. You can be shocked that it enjoyed beating me. And you can be, yet again, scared that toddlers are capable of beating you with your own racket. But even if that memory is a bit, like, I don't even know how to call it. Like, it's a memory I don't exactly like recalling, but at the same time, it's so funny that it's actually fun telling people what happened. But at the same time, that memory is, like, also, like, how do I feel about this? Because getting beaten by children sure is an experience. Oh man. At least I always have not boring stories whenever I think about something. Yeah, that looks fine. Does this character have any glowing effects? I kind of forgot if they did. Let me see here. I gotta quickly take notes from the reference. Where it is, I don't know. Right, I just remember that this character has shiny lips. I need to add some highlight to it, yeah. The current OST that's at the 32-minute mark, I recognize, but I don't exactly remember for what it was. Was it hairstyling? Wow. Oh my god, there's another thing that I just, like, had in my noggin. Shopaholic. That Flash game from, like, oh so long ago in Girls Go Games. That was basically, like, Style Boutique, but, like, on the flip side, where you just buy a bunch of clothes and model. Instead of just, like, you know, selling the clothes. I'm not sure if you've played it, but in case you did, I wonder if you still remember which ones you also played. There were so many Shopaholics. Like, I wonder who made these. Like, did the studio from Girls Go Games themselves produce those? That is something I do wonder about. There's so many things that I'm just now recalling from my childhood that were like Flash games or in any sort of shape related to fashion. There were so many Flash games I played as a kid. Only game I remember from Girls Go Games is that weird Ars Nipple Twister game that gave me nightmares. What? Tell me about it unless you don't want to? I'd never heard of that before. What? Oh my god. That just sounds also brutal from just the way you described it. Absolutely not. I'm scared. Fair point! Don't talk about it if you don't want to. I won't force you. Oh my god. Hopefully that thing you can rebury in your memory. Oh my god. I'm sorry. It looks so different. Oh my god. That is so annoying. It needs a bit more teal. Yeah. And that needs a bit more darker purple. Something like that. Not too much. There we go. Yeah. Can I just mention how gorgeous this character is? They don't belong to me, again. They belong to Hollowed Heartlock, my friend, but god, they're super pretty. I'm kind of tempted to slightly blur the snowflakes as well, though. I feel like it would do the drawing a bit more justice instead of just keeping them as is. Just like a tiny bit. Or else they look too distracting, admittedly. At least from my taste. Are they now too distracting? Wait, hold on. I have a love-hate relationship with particles when they're like unblurred. Because they make me focus on the particles more now. That is so annoying. Alright, different plan. I'll tint the hair texture simply so that it's not as obnoxious on them. What is this dubstep one? I never heard of that one before. Interesting choice, Style Boutique. Right, I should probably also mention, I'm not sure if that is like a known fact, but Style Boutique is just the European name of Style Savvy. So yeah, just so you know, I was talking about Style Savvy for a bit. I remember the first time when I was like looking up Style Boutique and I wondered, why does it say Style Savvy everywhere? When I was like looking up specifically American copies. I don't remember what for I did that, but yeah, I did do that eventually, and then I was like so confused until I figured out that's the American name of Style Boutique. I admittedly like the European name more, but Style Savvy is also pretty cool. Like, that's the one time where both nationalities win. But I in general am annoyed, though, again, at the topic of Nintendo DS's, that there's like a region lock going on. Like, why can't we enjoy games from other regions? What's the problem with that? Hello, Desert Channel 7. Also, welcome to his stream. Man, that's so exciting. People are actually checking me out today. I'm grateful for every person that visits me. Thank you. I'm just shading OTAs as in the title, though. There we go. I could maybe use a bit of airbrushing. No problem. I appreciate it. Feel free to talk about anything on here, by the way. I don't really, I won't really moderate too much, because I prefer when people have natural conversations. Even if there's, like, a topic I wouldn't like. Looks cool, pun intended. Thanks. The character belongs to my friend Hollowed Heartlock. I'll just make sure to say it every single time before someone thinks I own this cool character, but I unfortunately don't. Or maybe fortunately, depending on how you see it. I think it's like an unfortunately, fortunately situation. It's both situations. Because, like, I wish I had such a cool character, but at the same time, I'm glad somebody has a cool character so I can draw them. It's like a win-win situation, too. I'm just slightly darkening the roots, just to make sure that there's, like, some detail in this drawing. Because, I make sure that floaties for other people look a bit more detailed than my own. Because in my own, I don't put too much time into them. They look basically a bit more flat than, like, when I put genuine effort into other people's pieces, where, like, I put way more time into the shading. Speaking of that, I should add also more shading to the cape below. Need to add more dimension to this damn thing. I am an artiste, so I should know my dimensions. Speaking of dimensions, maybe I should someday consider making streams whenever I do 3D model. Even if my modeling isn't that good. Like, my skills are basically pretty trash. I understand, I used to draw other people's OCs too, so I know how it feels. Glad then. I'm always glad when someone can relate, because I always think I have such specific thoughts. Yeah. I also hate those tiny edges where you can very clearly tell where the shading starts and ends. It's frustrating when you have those edges. Speaking of edge, is that edge also there? No, I don't like that. There we go. Gotta keep a lookout on the tiny ones. There we go. Does this have some? Yeah, there. Well, actually, I could keep some. Yeah, let's keep some airbrushing there. Looks actually pretty nicer when I do that. Do you remember Nintendo Land, Tomodachi Life? Oh, you are talking to the right person. I still play it to this day. I absolutely adore Tomodachi Life. It's amazing. I wish it had a Nintendo port just like Miitopia. Those two games are goated. I love them so much. It's just the concept of adding anyone you want into your weird little fanfiction homes. It's too funny. I tell you, I love whenever people add something like The Rock to their games and then they just have always the most random crap happen. I would watch so many Let's Plays of people back then who like added random meme characters, like cartoon characters. It was always so entertaining. I think it has infinite value when you like have a game where you can just add anyone or anything into it without it like being in some shape or form offensive. I think that's one of the greatest things you could do in a video game, where it comes to customization. Like, making Miis is already great in my opinion, but like, giving them personality, giving them things to do, like roles and jobs in Miitopia, or like giving them apartments that you can customize and you can talk to them, I think it's great. It's one of my core memories that I would spend hours and months every single day playing Tomodachi Live. I would always add my own OCs into it, and I would just create random people. I to this day still have the weird cryptids in my save file that I made out of pure boredom. I can also mention this. I lost my original Tomodachi Live cartridge too, with my original save. That was already somewhere around high school. I was like in 8th grade or 9th grade when I lost my cartridge. I'm still so distraught over it, but I was smart enough to make QR codes for my characters, so I still managed to save some that came from the original save file. I also had this weird blue robot dog game, not the Pets games, where my brother had this robot dog that you could control from the 3DS. That sounds pretty damn cool. But that sounds like some form of limited action, not like limited action, like those temporary events where like companies would collaborate and they would like release something like that. Maybe it was like a controller app that you basically have nowadays with like those modern robot dogs too. I do wonder though, I'm very curious about that. Was it maybe something that was exclusive? It does sound something exclusive. Also just slightly giving them a bit more of a touch-up so that they don't completely are drowned out by shading. Right, this one's pink. But yeah, I'll definitely look into that myself privately if I can, because I'm curious too about that. One thing I also love is whenever there's like YouTubers who like reveal something new about video games, or like in general about consoles. I can't exactly have like a good example, but I don't remember exactly his channel name. I think it was Nick Robinson, who like found a McDonald's cartridge and dumped it officially for everyone to like play it, which was pretty cool of him. That was absolutely great that he did that, because we basically preserved now something that was also like limited edition basically. I still can't believe that we have it nowadays. It feels like a fever dream whenever something important gets discovered, or like the American Sailor Moon pilot. That one was honestly so cool though. Oh, we also had that. A bit more extra shading. I accidentally opened a program again, I think. By far, my favorite memory from my brother's 3DS was when we watched those weird comedic Sonic Sprite videos that were on YouTube at the time. Oh my god, yeah, you just reminded me that even 3DSs had, basically had those things in the first place. Like, I would also watch YouTube for hours, but what I did was, it would be like 11 PM, and I was like watching MLG compilations because I thought they were like the funniest thing back then. I feel so old for saying that. I feel more embarrassed over the fact that I used to like that stuff. My sensory overload nowadays could never. I was a different breed myself back then. But yeah, I think I do know what you mean, because I also like watched random sprite animations when I was on YouTube back then. Like basically like really actively looking at everything and everyone. Nowadays I mostly use YouTube as an MP3 player. I just find new music on YouTube and watch commentary channels. Oh my god, I specifically the Peppa Pig Mig MLG videos. Ah, yeah. I loved whenever they like added random explosions when I was a kid. I found that so humorous for some reason. But admittedly, the sound mixing they did whenever like the pigs grunted was pretty funny. I gotta admit. I respect any YTP editors too, who like always do this thing where they just basically mix together random things. Like I'm not sure if you're aware, but there's like this tiny subculture where like people remix Morshu videos into like music, and I just love that so much. Imagine having the creativity to mix random videos together into like a music video. I find that so cool for some reason. It's just so humorous and respectable. But maybe we might have watched the same. I'm not sure though. I don't remember the channel creator, and I only remember like some vague things because you did remind me just now that I used to watch something like that. Maybe we have seen the same. Maybe. If anything, I have blinks activated, if I'm not mistaken, on the live chat. And even if it isn't activated, I'll allow it. I don't exactly know how YouTube works, other than I press a button and then I can stream. I've never really looked into it because, well, I'm not a professional YouTuber. I just draw for fun, basically. I used to want to turn it into a career, but I don't want anymore. Yeah. It was quite a hot debate between me and my family. Did you ever watch Sonic Underground or like Sonic X or the OG Sonic? I think, well, I definitely watched Sonic X, but in German, which means it most likely was for kids, because Germany most of the time had 4 kids as the footage, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, I think I watched basically the 4 kids version of Sonic X. OG Sonic, like Sad I Am, I've only seen clips of. I haven't watched it fully, but I am interested in Archie stuff. I just don't like IDW. Sonic Underground, I haven't seen, but I'm aware of it, and I know that my friends like it. So I do have a very mild knowledge about the lore in Sonic Underground. If I'm not mistaken, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think, you know, Sonic's middle name, I think being Ogliv, came from Sonic Underground? Or that could have been Archie again, but yeah. I have, like, a vague recollection. One thing I also know is that, like, basically, Sonic's mom in Sonic Underground left for the milk, basically. Just let her son float in the water, just away from her. That's all I remember about that one. I know that, like, Sonic is in a band with his siblings, Manic and Sonia. I like Sonia's design, actually. Sonia is very pretty, in my opinion. But yeah. I know some basic things, but I don't know exactly what goes on in Underground. Sonic X, I'm aware of. The only thing I haven't been able to see is Season 3 with, like, the Metarex and everything. But I would say I'm part of the Seedrin community partially. Like, I have some subspecies that are based on Seedrians that I own, like Inkdrians, for example, and basically inactive but are Boldrians, and also, yet again, a disbanded group, which was at the time called Dragondrians. So, yeah. Not only that, but I own quite a few Seedrians now, and I've made, like, my own lore about it. Nah. Apparently Sonic Underground, the mom left to protect them, and the show was cancelled before it could finish. Oh, okay. So she left to protect them. That's honorable. That's respectable. Thanks for also informing me, though, because, like I said, I've only seen clips here and there, but I don't exactly know what's going on primarily in that universe. I always appreciate when someone can educate me on something I'm not aware about. But yeah, didn't the mom have, like, some form of head crown, too? Like, I vaguely remember her design. I think she also had a purple dress with a cape. Let me go take a look right now. I'm kind of curious what she looked like. Sonic Underground? Sonic's mom? Let's see. Yeah, she did. Oh! So I did remember her properly. Thanks. Oh, her name was Alina. Oh yeah, she looks pretty nice. I like her design. Yeah, she's pretty. The one thing I'll never understand is the way they've drawn hair in those cartoons. I'm not a fan of the way they draw hair in that cartoon, but that's fine because they're all literally fictional hedgehogs, so who am I to say? I feel like I should add shading to a snowflake, actually. Yeah. Or else it's gonna look cheap that I didn't work on the snowflake for myself. Let's put more around here. Set that to 35, maybe? No, now kind of the contrast is messing with it. I'll just keep that on 20. I think that's the best option, yeah. But yeah, another thing learned today, so thank you. There we go. Just gotta give a bit more dimension to this whole thing. Oh, I just had an idea as well. I could perhaps maybe even stream Terraria in the future. I'm terrible at Terraria, but I do love building for hours straight. So maybe if like my parents are gone for like a giant vacation again. I don't know whenever Dad will return, because once he's back, I'll most likely shut off the stream again, because I just don't want to take away latency or anything. And, you know, obviously my Wi-Fi isn't made for streaming. I just do it casually because I want to. There we go. Slightly here, slightly there. I think one thing that fascinates me is that, to this day, some things are just not canon in Sonic canon, basically. Because, like, as Sonic said I am, I do wonder what is up with, like, all of the, you know, creatures basically not being part of the Sonic franchise. Like, I'll mention it, I hate the concept of people, like, going, oh, we should add Sally, oh, we should add Tangle from IDW to Sonic games. But, you know, I'm very heavily against it. I do think comics should stay out of it. But what I do wonder is why they haven't done that yet. I just wonder if it's about copyright or anything. Or maybe they just, like me, think it should be just its own thing. I don't know. But I am curious about why. It would be kind of cool to know. But at the same time, companies like being very secretive about their ideas and projects. So who knows? Maybe in the future it'll be a thing. Maybe. To be fair, it isn't like due to the whole Ken Pender stuff now a problem that they obviously won't do that anymore. God, to even think that Ken Pender's left such a massive fallout in the first place. Like, literal millions of echidnas he created, he just, like, decided to yoink. And the only trace we have left of something of the comics is obviously Whisper, I think was her name. No, wait, Whisper's from IDW. What was her name? I forgot her name. But it's basically that, that other purple echidna in the armor and stuff that is in Sonic Chronicles, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just see if I can find a video of Sonic Chronicles echidna. I forgot her name. Yeah, Shade. There we go. Shade the echidna. That one. I'm not sure if that's official artwork, but I'm just gonna pull it up quickly in a tab again. Oh god, it's very crusty. Super crusty. Hangs Chrome. Terrible as usual with the zoom. But yeah. Basically this character, yeah, she was taken away by Penders again, which kind of sucks because this was a pretty cool design, not gonna lie. There were many cool designs that unfortunately Penders did take with him. The one thing that I just will never understand is how he's able to actually make pretty solid designs, but his art style just looks so god-awful. Coming from someone like me who has, like, basically the anime yaoi manhwa art style, I can at least be honest about that fact. That my art style doesn't look the best. But I like it, so yeah. I just wonder what Penders is up to nowadays, because past pandemic he went pretty insane as far as I know. Not like Sonichu levels of insane, but the guy still was obviously up to some devious work. Just quickly working that. Yeah, there we go. Just make it slightly look fitting in here. There we go. Yeah, there we go. I always forget to like slightly darken down the colors for whenever I do that thing with the eyebrows that just like go across the hair. So there's just moments where the eyebrows are super highlighted without me purposefully doing that. Let's just add a bit more wind direction. Why not? I think it would do it some justice if I were to do that. Plus, as I mentioned, I like adding more details to whenever it's an OTA piece. Where does that lead to? Stops right there. Alright then. I have some strange decisions sometimes. But oh well, it doesn't obstruct the drawing. Yeah, just a slightly bit more. There we go. Just slightly blur that, and we're basically also done with this guy, I'd say. I think he's pretty shaded. In case I miss something, if anything, I can fix it. I always keep my files organized, and I always know where they are. Whenever I lose a file, it's strange. So, yeah. If there is something I'll ever have to fix on pieces, I can always fix it. Which is why I always tell people that, like, it's no problem for me to, like, fix things, because I don't tend to delete my files. I tend to store them. There's just moments where sometimes I want to look back on how I approached a certain drawing, or, like, how I did a certain technique. I do that often with my, like, with my art style changes. Whenever I change my art style, I always have to, like, look at the first file I made again. Because obviously, like, I always draw the way my muscle memory works. So if all of a sudden my muscle memory just loses how to draw something, then that's usually the case where I have to, like, open my previous file, where, like, I change my art style, and then, like, I stare at it again, and then I identify what I did again to make my style look like my style, and then it basically comes back to me eventually. It's probably why my art has a tendency to look inconsistent sometimes. But only sometimes? Which makes it awkward. I don't know why. I just have this weird phenomena where sometimes I just recognize my art. Sometimes I recognize my art perfectly. And on some days, just my art doesn't want to look like my art. That's a bit too much highlight, though. Maybe I should stream more often on a Sunday. If only, of course, it, like, the schedule of my parents would allow me to. Obviously, after all, I do have to pay attention to whenever they return. Like I said, don't want to take away all the bandwidth so that they can, like, watch TV and stuff. Plus, as I already mentioned, our Wi-Fi is not gonna like doing that. Arguably, the Wi-Fi over home already can't handle me streaming. So, yeah. Just imagining it whenever my parents return, even worse. But yeah, next dude, done. I believe. Looks just as done as the other drawings. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's done. On to Mariana. I like this character's colors, but at the same time they're a bit too bright for me, so I'll try to work on her a bit more quickly, so that, like, the shading can slightly darken down the hair. Or maybe I should just slightly desaturate the colors. I think that'd also be a smart strategy. But yeah, it's a bit difficult for someone like me to work on a character that has very bright colors that hurt my eyes. I have to usually hurry up on those. Or, like, stay longer on specific parts, but be faster on other parts. The green, for me, is very bright and it hurts my eyes. The blues are fine, so I think I'll just mostly stay somewhere near the blues so that my eyes aren't, like, super triggered by the color. It's also a bit of a weird issue I think only I personally have, because I just have really sensitive eyes. So yeah, most likely also just a me thing. I'd be surprised if it wasn't, honestly. Because I've never heard other artists say that. And most of the time artists use flashy or bright colors, and only a few people do actually like, how do I even say that? Like, censor them? As dumb as it sounds, like, they add a content warning to it. I think content warnings are very handy. I do wish, though, that I'd be capable of also using the proper content warnings. Because sometimes I feel like I don't do enough, but other times I feel like I do too many warnings, but I can't be exactly certain. Because it's just so hard to know what triggers people and what doesn't. You can, like, only basically go off your personal experience, which makes it so difficult in my opinion. I think anyone can add general warnings about nudity and gore or, like, flashing lights for epileptics, but after that, how do you kind of determine that? Because some people see other situations in different ways. Like, what someone might find traumatizing, others will just laugh it off. I could at least say it as an example of NSFW. Like, I personally am super grossed out by it. I find nudity extremely gross when it isn't, like, done tastefully and, like, done respectfully. But some people, they just kind of don't care. They just keep it as is, or they just don't censor it at all. Maybe due to, like, their worldview or anything else. But yeah, I do wonder where's, like, the line. Like, where do you, like, add a content warning? Where do you not? It is basically a guessing game, isn't it? I wouldn't know. But the same with, like, do not interact lists. I think it's a bit silly to ask a person to not interact just because they come from a fandom. I always consider that silly. Like, for example, people who, like, Hazbin Hotel, for example, I see that one a lot. A lot of people, like, go, do not interact if you like Hazbin Hotel. I just wonder, huh? What for? Like, they just like a fictional show. Like, what happened? And, like, if you don't like the creator being Nifty Pop, for example, like, fair, but at the same time, why don't you just, like, write down do not interact if you like Nifty Pop? Wouldn't that, like, make it much more clear that you don't like the creator and it's nothing to do with the fandom? Like, it's just things like those that just confuse me. Another thing that confuses me is whenever people, like, see something the way it is with, fandoms, like, being completely terrible and, like, no one being irredeemable and things like that. I could just, like, say, for example, there are some people who, like, basically, I think, went, do not interact, if you like the Loud House. And, like, I do understand what you mean, but some part of those people are just children who like the show. There's, like, yeah, there's obviously some degens in the community that very clearly and openly, do some weird crap. But, at the same time, let's not punish people who act normally and accordingly and don't do, like, questionable stuff. Like, I don't know. I don't understand this culture on the internet of disrespecting an entire fandom just because you had, like, a few sour apples that, like, stand out from the rest. I could say the same about furries, because they're pretty chill. Like, yeah, I understand that maybe you don't like them because they're a bit questionable about the way they, like, how do you say that without, like, going too much in detail about it? Like, I understand if people like, saucy content. Let's call it that. Saucy content. If you like, for example, like, saucy content where there's, like, some form of animal in it, like, if you like the human part of it, fine, I guess. I wouldn't like it. I personally hate any form of NSFW to do with anthropomorphic beings. But, like, if you like the human parts, I still kind of understand, but why don't you just turn them into human characters, for example? Just as my solution to not being called a weird degen for liking furry NSFW, for example. But, yeah, just, I don't like people who then like completely and inadvertently like despise the entire community, for example, for just, you know, having a few bad people in it that like some questionable things. Like, understandable. It's completely normal to dislike something that is morally ambiguous or like doesn't exactly fit how you morally feel. But to like completely call an entire community disgraceful or like harassing people in a community just because you don't like them is like also kind of terrible in my opinion. It doesn't make you a better person when you do that. It just kind of makes you worse for being this judgmental. Same goes though with like calling fandoms out. Where you like go, you all are sick, depraved, and you all don't know your limits, and like your community is full of this and that, and without like realizing there's good people in the community too. Like, yeah, maybe like the bad outweighs the good, but not everyone is some creepy degenerate. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of a too grounded take for the internet standards, where nowadays everyone's outrage and something bothers the other person so hard they have to be cancelled. I still don't understand the culture, man. Since I browsed the internet around 2010s, rather, instead of like being more of a 2020s person, who like understands the internet in a modern era, I don't understand the whole cancel culture thing. Like, someone did a mistake. Yeah, I guess apologize for it. The one time where I think it's fine to cancel to cancel someone is when they've really done something that's questionable, that has like solid evidence. But canceling someone when you only barely know something about them is pretty questionable again. I have to admit, I'm not a saint either. There were times where I completely jumped the gun. Oops, sorry. Accidentally hit the mic. But yeah. I, for example, had this time where, you know, like, I immediately assumed the worst when Quite was accused. And I was like, damn, I just knew that something was wrong. Until, you know, it was disproven, and then I felt like an idiot, and I was like, damn, I'm just stupid, never mind. So, yeah. Ever since that, I'd say I've been very careful with, like, whenever there's an accusation. I've been really skeptical ever since that whole Quite thing happened. With, like, the way people claim accusations. I don't even know how it happened in the first place. I barely recall what happened in that time. I just remember, oh no, quite bad person, I heard? Oh man, I knew it. But then obviously, like, the shoe was flipped on its head. And then I was like, oh, I'm a bad person for assuming that. So, yeah. The good part is at least you can learn out of those mistakes, and that, you know, you can grow as a person. And, like, develop to be more mindful next time. But at the same time, sometimes the internet is just ridiculous and cancels people for no reason at all. But maybe I'm just talking too much about cancel culture. But at the same time, I'm kind of fascinated by it. I wonder if it's been scientifically studied already, because I feel like it should be studied. As dumb as it sounds, but admittedly, like, there's so much going on about, how humans act in those situations, and, how we choose to discuss allegations. Like, I don't know, I think it would be kind of interesting to, like, look into a scientific paper that, like, talks about that. Or maybe I'm just a huge nerd. I think it's probably the latter. I like to research, I like to, like, casually research and read about, the way humans act. So that could be that, probably. I'm not saying this in a way to, like, come off as smart. I just have a general interest in reading about human psychology, because I find it fascinating. I don't understand a lot of it, but I'd like to understand it. I think that's where the curiosity comes from, where I'd like to read on that stuff and such. Plus, I think it's always been of benefit to care about someone's mental struggles, to, like, look into them, and to understand a person instead of, like, judge them. I think that's always been a nice practice whenever people genuinely do that. I like it in particular whenever, like, those video essays I watch that go into a mental illness. Because then you can like get an insight into how well informed the person is who's talking about like this topic of interest in quotation marks, and what their stance on it is. It kind of, in a sense, also shows emotional maturity, in my opinion, when you can like look at someone and you can like see that they're trying their best to like get informed about a topic or like something they haven't exactly known much of. I respect deeply when people do that. I also respect when people want to get educated and genuinely like take their time to read whenever someone says something that is like a topic of interest. I don't know, I always also found that just interesting, the way we choose to inform ourselves. It's a bit of a silly thought to like think too much about that, but I've been overthinking a lot about the way we just talk to each other and the way we inform each other. Because like there's always this point of contention of when do you start sounding stupid when you explain something, or like when do you start to sound condescending when you explain something? Because I have this problem that I'm fine with admitting, that I accidentally come off as too harsh whenever I don't want to be. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know how it happens. There's just moments where people all of a sudden start to like get nervous around me, and then like I, you know, like act like basically nothing happened because I didn't realize that something happened. It's only when people tell me, like, can we get along, or like, sorry if I did this or that, and I'm like, no, it's fine, I'm not mad or anything, did something happen? And only then they like explain, oh sorry, I just thought you were mad or like annoyed, or like, you were like, being aggressive, and I'm like, huh? I'm so sorry, and like, it's always so confusing. Because, people don't tell me whenever there's like an issue with me, and then I don't realize it, and then like it escalates usually. So yeah, I also like inadvertently appreciate when people explain something to me or like educate me, or just in general like let me know, hey, what you did was wrong, because I need that push. Like I appreciate when people tell me that like I've done a mistake. I think it helps to develop as a person and like to avoid doing it in the future. Like gaining self-awareness is pretty difficult, but once you do, like you start to be way better with dealing with certain things. And I just think that's pretty nice. I just wish it would be something that I would be capable of doing myself, but sometimes you just need a proper push. And I appreciate any push I get. Sorry if that was like a giant mental health tangent. Like I said, I like talking about mental health a lot. I'm quite fascinated by psychology and stuff. Oop. My parent has officially returned. With that, I guess that's a wrap for today. Thanks so much, though. I'll see you some other time, whenever I'll have time again to stream.